Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Overwatch South American Contenders, brought to you by Broadcast.gg. Off of the casting room, we are here on the decks now. Boopasaurus, Ham Tornado, and joining us is Scribe, and we have a pretty exciting matchup for you guys today because this one is full of storylines. We have Breakdown versus Caverna Esports, and let me tell you a little bit about each of these teams. So Breakdown is the Crusher 99 of Overwatch, Ham and Scribe. So they started in trials. They started in open division. One open division, got into trials, and these guys were literally just wanting to make, this is what we were told, wanting to make some quick Blizzard bucks. So $10, and they ended up winning trials after all of that. And now they're here in Contenders. Their opening game was against Brazil Gaming House, and that was not a welcome gift for their first game. They did go down 0-4. And tell us a little bit more about Breakdown, Ham.
Yeah, so this is a team of friends, like you said, Boop. This is, we can all see a little bit of ourselves. Who hasn't, gotten a six stack together with their friends and been like, you know what, I can play an Overwatch.
Exactly.
Right. So, yeah, definitely not a warm welcome. Brazil Gaming House did sweep them as they did their previous opponents that we cast in today's first match. But Breakdown still have more to give. I'm really excited to see this team come forward. They play an individualistic style full of aggression. And perhaps the word on the street is they're showing a little bit too much respect to BGH. Now, coming up against Caverna, a little bit more of the middle of the pack, I'm hoping to see them regain that confidence, try and take the enemy team off guard.
Scribe, you have 45 seconds to tell us the stakes for Caverna Esports in this game versus Breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is a game that's both important for Caverna to win as well as Breakdown, just because the Group A, there's not a lot of parity there. We have BGH at the top of the standings, but 2 through 6 can be almost anyone. So this is going to be a must-win game. I wonder if they can take advantage of the fact that Breakdown just got beaten very decisively last week to really use that to their advantage. But players to watch, Maka and Slay, their DPS duo are going to be so intensive. I wonder how big the Pharah priority will be, just because Slade looked very strong despite losing last week on Pharah.
So Caverna and Breakdown could potentially be fighting for the 4 and 5 spot to make it into the playoffs, both being 0-1 and both looking for that first win. And bringing us the cast today are going to be Lemon and LaFon, or as I like to say, the LL Sound Machine. Take it away, guys.
Well, I don't feel too robotic, but we are a pretty awesome duo. I love all the compliments that we get to spread around, but I'm Lemon Kiwi, this is LaFon, and we've got Breakdown versus Caverna, two teams that are 0-1. LaFon, what do you think is most important in this match, stakes-wise?
I mean, bringing out the gate real quick. Gotta go take that first victory in terms of map differential, try and set the stage for the actual gameplay, right? You have a chance to put an exclamation point on the beginning of your sentence as opposed to the end, and this is the time to do it. Oasis is that first map control. We know how much of a back and forth affair it can be sometimes, and especially on Oasis, where it's a case where the maps often go 99-99. This is a scenario where you have the ability to stagger out to get some time in your favor, even if that even if the map doesn't initially go to your advantage. There is opportunities here. So I think for them, for both teams, of course, you're 0-1 on each side. Your opportunity to start the climb back to that second place in your group starts now. You have to take the victory here, and it all starts on map 1. So I think for as we get set to go into Oasis, it's a case here where there's a lot at stake on just this first round, this first stage specifically.
And Caverna they were sort of that middle of the pack Contenders team last season. They've really gone through some significant roster changes. Mainly, they lost their DPS Dark into 2-kill, Delavine went to Black Dragons, and we know how good those players are, and now they're going to be integrating Slay and Maka, Projectile and DPS. Speaking of which, Slay will be on that Pharah and Maka on that McCree. But the difference is that Lubak will be on that Tracer.
And they're getting set to go right in and over. We see pretty much a mirror composition here, that Fire Mercy. There's Maka on the McCree, but other than that, it is going to be pretty much even as the teams situate high ground. Lemon. A lot of posturing early on here.
Yeah, high ground control for Caverna, but also Breakdown have that pillar control. They're going to rotate from the low ground to the high ground. Shinigami, though, doesn't want to stay in line of sight for too long versus Maka, as the point will unlock just in a few seconds, and it will be Breakdown who have dropped down along with Caverna, as it's a battle of the tanks here. Henry, though, gets super low, and that's 2 picks already for Caverna.
Caverna just doing a great job walking in. They have the superior damage, they have the superior healing, as the Mercy wasn't really playing inside the team here for Breakdown, so it's going to be likely a D-Mech coming in, and Maka just coming in with the cleanup as Lucas with a final blow. It's absolutely going to be Breakdown Gaming walking back to spawn. So it looks like they might actually be resetting up here, trying to find a different plan of attack, but that entire fight was because Shinigami was actually forced to rotate out completely. Maka, that long range, not really long range, but that mid-range hit scan pressure just forced the Pharah to like sort of back out, and with that there was no spam damage, there was no healing there, and Breakdown Gaming just lost that first fight off that. So they come into this next one at a very large disadvantage. Caverna trying to find that pressure early on.
Looks like Breakdown want to contest that high ground. That's going to be led here by Keith. That forces out the Valkyrie here from Win98, the only female player on the team, actually. So I'm rooting for her. She's trying to get away from Lucas here on the Zenyatta, as now the players from Caverna are so low. While Lucas was busy, he has the Transcendence, but isn't worth really using with the D-Mech that already gone through. But he has to use it now that Simba is out, but was not able to use it as he did go down in a losing scenario. Smart to keep that patient Transcendence for the next one.
Absolutely, and Breakdown Gaming, great job there. Shinigami comes in, they take down Maka early on, and without that McCree, there's no real pressure, there's no real line of sight for Shinigami to really worry about, and now he's able to free fire onto the tanks. The tanks go down, and 42% goes to Caverna as it ticks over, but it's absolutely a great retake there, and now it's up to Shinigami. Again, it's really hard to retake with a fire here, especially with no real angle of pressure that you don't have that Tracer, of course. You only have the McCree. So it's going to be Caverna try and walk into this next fight. Tank's playing a little bit more passively, though, as Self-Destruct is over the top.
Oh, it actually might catch this farmer. See, no, they actually managed to get to the other side, but meanwhile, Shinigami is to the left here in that corridor. Gets just trickles all this damage in that tight area, and Breakdown still in control. But Caverna came in with so many ultimates here. They use the self-destruct, they use the primal, but they're saving the rest for the next fight.
And this is one of the things, right? If you gain first control, you actually lose more time. Look at that control percentage. One fight, and Breakdown has already exceeded Caverna Esports' control percentage. So a great job there. Shinigami goes over the top. No one really catches him out. The Diva's not there to absorb the barrage and takes out two. And with that, even though Keith goes down, it isn't really a case where Caverna can actually walk in, and they have to reset here. Slave with that barrage now. They want to walk in and take value here as they start to switch over. Maka on the Tracer now, no longer with that McCree.
Yeah, did he even use that Deadeye? I thought that would have been so important to try and take down Windows 98 in the middle of the Valkyrie, who just uses that now. The Primal Rage from Keith. Breakdown are here to play, and it's going to be the battles of farmers. As Slave wants to get above Shinigami to use that barrage, but is taking in so much damage from all angles as the Transcendence now comes in from Hugo. Maka hits that stick along with Slave with the barrage. Caverna on fire, but the numbers have now equalized with the kills coming in from Breakdown. 95, 96, Breakdown in the advantage. The Resurrects coming in from Windows 98, and overtime underway. Caverna are running out of ultimates, running out of time, but this could be a chance for them to retake.
We see Lubbock picks up the D-Mech. They do get the self-destruct out, so there's not going to be any sort of reset here. Hugo coming in with the kills. Breakdown have the advantage in this fight. There's no longer numbers for Caverna as they try and reset the pulse bomb. Gonna whiff out, but it is gonna still build towards that place. D-Mech coming through. Dagostim takes out the Pharah, and with that, Caverna Esports all down to a man. Overtime will tick away, and objective one goes to Breakdown. And Lemon, that was a really, really aggressive first push. Breakdown, they lose first control, but they managed to bring it right back.
And it looked like Caverna had a chance in that last fight. They had gotten the D-Mech onto Dagostim. They just needed to keep that momentum going, but having already lost members at the start of the fight, it was sort of like a 5v3 advantage more for Breakdown, and they had support ultimates coming online. But I like that this was a bit of a closer map as we go here on to Gardens, where I'm going to see the return of these Pharahs. At least Breakdown and Caverna are hovering over that, and to keep in mind that you want to have the first take when you have the Pharah. You get into that driver's seat, so much easier to defend with a Pharah.
Yeah, and back-to-back Pharah maps, so we aren't going to actually go University. It's going to be Gardens after their city center, so it's going to be more of this Pharah play here, Lemon. It's going to be Breakdown. Going to be running with that Tracer. Maka also mirroring it, so they do think that McCree no longer valuable in these closer quarters engagements. As they walk up, Lemon here trying to take this first fight.
Oh, that high ground control, it's always been what these two teams have invested their time in, but Lucas goes down. That's healing gone here for Caverna. Now both healers out for Caverna as Breakdown now looking to converge on the rest of the tanks that are wounded. They're weak, and they're retreating.
Lubbock, they're completely uncontested, and with a combination of the fire in the air, Shinigami and Lubbock make a great combination. Not really a whole lot that Caverna can contest, and with the supports going down early, it's a result that your tanks are just not going to get healed up, and that's even more space for the Tracer to go to work. So Breakdown Gaming now have an actual compositional advantage in terms of how they're playing. It's a case where Maka is just not playing the same kind of aggressive Tracer to provide a lot more pressure, and Shinigami is able to just rain down damage that Slade just cannot compare to. So it's going to be trying to reset here as the virus float over the top and direct is hit Lemon, and they're walking this next fight.
A self-destruct. Oh, no, it's actually Daggerson getting it back into mech. I apologize. Oh, Shinigami, though, could finish off the Mercy, and there's nothing Simba can do. Actually, Guardian Angel's away, and Slay's like, that's your problem, man. I'm too busy elsewhere. But it doesn't matter because the turn of the fight is still again for Breakdown.
And they're going to keep this fight going. The couple of last kills coming through. The D-Mech is there, but it's likely not going to spell any sort of change. Lubbock will go down, so Henry has actually been providing a lot of pressure, but it is not enough. And it's going to be a reset here. The numbers staying alive are actually in Breakdown's favor. And that last fight, yet again, Breakdown has been staggering these fights out longer and longer. So they're actually going to try and keep this going in their favor. Again, you have to win these fights convincingly, and Caverna just has not been doing so. They're going to try and reset here for this fight. But again, they're 61% and counting on that control percentage. That first blow on the Mercy could be huge.
It could start off something good as Caverna now pressing the foot on the pedal, getting into this point. Primal Rage ready here for Henry. Wants to engage that high ground, getting after that Fair who no longer has the Mercy, but Wins 98 is going to be coming back with the Valkyrie, but now the fight has turned in favor of Caverna and at 83% just in time.
I mean, when you get that first pick off on such a valuable target, there's no mainline healing, there's no availability to keep your fire up, there's no availability to keep your tanks up, and Breakdown Gaming lose the fight as a result of Slay coming through, picks up a brilliantly first early kill, and that is absolutely massive as Windows 98, a great name, by the way, not a great operating system, but a great name, and they're going to try and take this next fight coming in.
Let's see how well she can operate those wings with the Valkyrie coming online and the Sound Bear. So much resource, so much stall coming in for Breakdown. 6 ultimates. What is the Transcendence? Starts from from Lucas on this high ground. The stick lands onto the monkey, but when he's primaling, oh my god, eats the stick from the other Tracer instead. And it's complete chaos. The barrage is available. Waits for Daggerson to drop, and it's the tanks jumping at him. But now another barrage, and that was an easy 2K. Could maybe finish off this Mercy here. Windows 98 will shut down, and Caverna are missing members. Breakdown, if they get this retake, Caverna will have to re-engage quickly, or Breakdown will walk away with Oasis.
There's going to be a couple last kills coming through. The Zenyatta goes down to Lubbock yet again. The combination with that dive on the Winston. And only Maka left alive as the Lucio comes into stagger. They want to stagger this out for as long as possible, building that ult percentage. They will get one more fight, though. Lubbock and Dagoston cleaning up for that last fight. They do reset at 90% now. They want to play really aggressive here, as if Caverna can't touch, there's not a whole lot they can do here.
They'll need to go in quick, and without a Lucio, we'll see if they want to focus on this higher ground. Take the corridor, take the main way, but Keith a little too far forward. It's a direct rocket, and this will be the moment to engage because Breakdown can't go for that resurrect and cannot when your Mercy is dead. It's Caverna coming in for the retake at 61%. They've only just stopped the bleeding, as now they'll have to play a perfect Oasis game if they want to go into a map 3.
Lubbock, though, coming in clutch, picks up that the pulse bomb kill, stays alive a lot longer. They may actually be able to get back to recontest. Henry's 1 HP. The Winston is back in play. Henry still 1 health down. Keith comes in for the retake. They do put the point back over, though. So Keith will have to get out, and he will go down. So that's another reset now for Caverna, or sorry, for Breakdown as Caverna retakes. And they pull a lot of ultimates out as they actually end up winning that fight. And they control point as well.
And it was due to Keith just like looking at main way, trying to get information of where Caverna was coming from, and that's when he got double rocketed, and Windows 98 sort of in the back, also eating damage from Slay with so much freedom now. Battle of the Ferris, to keep in mind, only one is close to Barrage, so Slay has such an important task of getting that Ferris attention away from him so he can use that Barrage to dismantle the tanks, as Caverna have to keep their eyes on the back, have to keep their eyes on the front, because that's where Breakdown is coming. Self-destruct from Trix, We'll send it up into the air. Does it pick off the Pharmacy? No, they're actually in the middle of the map, as Breakdown now can only wait for the kills to come in as a resurrect for Caverna as well. The tanks are still alive here. Caverna, not for long. Henry drops. Maka is the last one to stall. Can he stall long enough for the reinforcements to come in? You see Tricks here. Slay has a barrage, which still picks up one, but a responding barrage, and somehow Lubbock is on the kill feed with that. And Breakdown, 99-99, will shut down this Oasis first map.
As the overtime is still ticking away, they get the contest back in, but it's too little, too late, and with that, Oasis will go to Breakdown Gaming as they take a stellar 2 points there, using that far play very much in their favor, and they go up 1-0 in our series. Caverna Caverna has shown themselves here. It's been a back and forth map as we kind of predicted early on, but Breakdown just a little bit more on that, just that little extra in terms of the gas pedal and going forward. And Lubbock here, as we see that quick play of the game, doing a lot of damage in that backline, completely uncontested. Breakdown Gaming put themselves up 1-0 and have a great chance going forward.
Well, that was a 2-0, and I honestly thought that could have went into a map 3. And I want to talk about Breakdown to start. Their main tank, it was Keith, and he usually plays on every other map but Control. Actually, in their last match, Glaive was the one that played main tank for Breakdown, particularly on Control, but they'll substitute him out for Keith on every other map. So how did you think Keith's performance was on that Winston in Oasis?
I mean, there was times where Keith was pretty good and times where he made some puzzling decisions. I think specifically Garden was pretty apparent. He went and chased after a kill when he could have staggered out the point a little bit more. I think he got the kill but ended up paying for it and got caught out a couple of times. So they won the maps. It's not like, you know, he was particularly egregious in how he went forward, but there is definitely room here for Breakdown to actually improve in how they go forward. And Keith is one of the places where it absolutely is a mark that is against them. So again, great first map, but there's definitely room here for them to work forward on their performance going through the next set of maps going in.
And to talk about, well, there's the Pharah Tracers, very common on Control maps of the Pharah's controlling the sky and the Tracers trying to work with the tanks to dismantle the front lines. I just felt in that Oasis, the Pharahs didn't make as much of an impact as they usually do.
I think it's one of the cases where you see that composition, what they're playing is kind of the reverse of how you kind of expected, where the Pharah shows up a lot. But I think what happened is that the Pharahs put a lot of damage downrange, and then Lubbock was there for Breakdown specifically to clean up. And Mock on the other side, of course, we saw it on first point with the Kree, but then switching over to the Tracer. They did a lot of the same style where the Pharah would just spam down damage, and the Tracer was right there to clean up the marked targets. So I think that's pretty much why we sort of saw a little bit more in terms of the kill feed going towards Lubbock. And Lubbock was just absolutely completely uncontested throughout the ground war. The tanks really unable to really follow him around, and of course the in-air battle was kind of won out, I think, by Shinigami on the Pharah. And so we kind of saw Lubbock as a bit of a beneficiary in that regard. There wasn't really a whole lot of pressure either from the sky or the ground to prevent any contest, and it's a combination of the DPS players from both from Breakdown side that sort of led to that appearance.
And we might just see the return of the Pharah Tracer, even Pharah Hanzo, especially from Breakdown, as we're going into Eichenwald for our map number 2. To keep in mind, Breakdown is 1-0 in the series of this 4-map set. And actually, Eichenwald was a map that Breakdown had played and kind of got crushed on against Brazil Gaming House, but it's more because it's Brazil Gaming House. They are like the gods of Overwatch in the South American scene, but at least we have some taste of what we might see from Breakdown, while as I don't think Caverna played Eichenwald against Nocturnes week 1.
It is going to be a case, I think one of the things for, it's going to be a case where can you take anything against BGH seriously? Unless you take a victory against BGH, I wouldn't particularly knock it against any team. We already got a chance to see how good they were in the last set, so it's not exactly a surprise to anyone who follows South American Overwatch whatsoever. BGH is absolute monsters, so to take anything in that series and hold it against anybody is, I think, kind of short-sighted. That said, Eichenwald is probably the first opportunity we're going to see two teams that are actually evenly matched in a map where it doesn't sort of favor that kind of staggered or aggressive play. We're going to see a Pharah-centric map on first point specifically. It is fairly common. There's a lot of vertical cover for Pharahs to sort of rotate around that middle tower there on that first point for both sides, actually. So we are going to see if that's going to, show up. And it's a map that, again, we get to see some more of the coordination that teams kind of bring to these hybrid maps. And Eichenwald is a great choice, and it's a great opportunity for us here as spectators and casters to sort of get an idea of how these teams actually perform on non-control specific affairs.
And Breakdown, like I said, will be bringing out that Pharah Hanzo, and I think that's one of their stronger duos, but Caverna, they're gonna be probably bringing out the Pharah, of course, from Slay again, but I wonder what Maka is going to play. Is he gonna be revolving around the Tracer, or is he gonna try and match that Hanzo? You want that sort of range DPS, unless you're able to close that distance with a dive, as Caverna comes out of a gate with an interesting attacking composition, or actually Henry goes back onto the Winston. So dive with the Widow and Pharah.
I mean, this is fairly default, and it's kind of interesting the defense is running Hanzo. Hanzo's not exactly, I mean, recently with the change to his arrow speed has been able to contest fires a little bit more, but they're putting a lot of pressure here on Shinigami to shut down Slay, and Maka will have absolute range advantage, of course, as the hit scan Widow takes that pressure. They are just going to poke away now, trying to find the entryway, perhaps looking for that first pick off or that spam damage as the tanks slowly walk in here, and there's not really a whole lot for them to walk in on.
And actually for the Widowmaker for Caverna, it's interchanged quite a bit between Maka and Slay, and I like that he's trying to find a line of sight here on the Lubak. Knows he's the biggest threat, and with the duo ship of Slay, they do close in onto that kill, and they almost got a shot there in Windows 98 as a Mercy at the back, and this will be the go time, the go sign for Caverna to engage the point.
They are going to get the Resurrect off as Henry does fall down, so they have to retreat and walk back just a little bit. And Maka has been kind of being pressured out a little bit, hasn't had a chance to really hit a shot, but trying to walk in with that self-destruct here, Lemon. They have an opportunity to walk. It's a huge self-destruct, picks up 2. That opens the point wide open.
Yes, and they waited for Keith's bubble to be down, and another self-destruct, easy to hide around the other payload as the dink coming in from Lucas and Caverna closing onto the point. Breakdown are shut down as they'll be ready for now the bridge phase of Eichenwald.
We mentioned this map could be very Pharah-centric. It is actually the case so far. Shinigami staying on that Pharah now for the moment, as he does have that Barrage Slay as well. May choose to change their look. Lubbock now choosing over to the Widowmaker. So there's a lot of switches coming here through second, and they continue to push this fight forward through the high ground. They want to take this high ground away here, Caverna do, from Breakdown Gaming. Maka, though, falls early on in this fight.
An interesting pick from Lubak to go on to the Widowmaker instead of the Hanzo. It kind of sacrifices that Dragon Strike that we haven't actually seen from them to just have maybe more better grappling speed. Wants that information, that infra sight available to them to see where Caverna could be coming from, and maybe for some style shots like that when that completely misses. But Caverna will be ready to engage, and they want to go on to this high ground.
They say that the only counter to a Widow is your own better Widow, and this may be what the case is for Breakdown, as Maka was kind of uncontested. Didn't actually hit a whole lot of shots, but still provides a lot of pressure, and Keith now trying to take some advantage on the ground. The defense, though, starting to eke out a little bit more space here.
I'm not sure why Windows 98 was so far forward, and now there's one support missing from each team, both of them having ultimates, and this is mainly at the disadvantage of Caverna. Now they need to engage. They sent the self-destruct to maybe build some space away from this choke on the castle that they have spent so much time sitting at.
Keith, in the meanwhile, was in the backline, picks up the 2 kills. They didn't see him there at all, and he was able to walk in, use that Primal Rage to get out, build some alt charge for the supports. Hugo, only about 50% there. They are going to give it to Win 98, however, and Lubak picks up another kill there. So the Widowmaker not having a great time here for the side of Caverna.
Barrage could have been huge, but they're actually farther away than he thought, but the Resurrect is there, and that's mainly how Caverna can decide to engage, is when Windows 98 is in plain sight trying to pocket Shinigami. So if Caverna can converge their tanks onto Windows 98, cut off the resources, they can have a real chance here, especially with 2 support ultimates online.
This is such an awkward place for Caverna to be stuck out in, as they have to walk in through the low ground onto Widow. They're making it work somehow, Lemon, as they get the DMAX self-destruct coming out, and they need to start pushing forward here.
And a little bit of justice into the background. It does get traded out, but number advantage here for Breakdown, it seems, but they're just trying to reset, give up some free distance. Here they're engaging from the top. Caverna just pushing the payload like they thought they had won, but not quite yet. As Tricks out of mech, they're trying to converge here on this hero, and that's going to be Keith finishing that off. And Lubak also at the very back, at the top of the castle, finding some picks as well.
Hey, this is, like I mentioned earlier, this is such an awkward place to be. You have to contest a Pharah in the air that has perfect vertical cover all the way through this front gate, and you have to contest a Widowmaker. There's not really a whole lot of space to walk in, and when you do, the tanks are just there to nullify any push you've got. So Breakdown are in a great spot here, and Caverna's gonna have to start changing up some stuff, and they do. Slay off the Pharah, now switching to the Genji. You want a little bit more of that true dive. Still running the Widowmaker, but they are trying to provide a little bit more pressure here on that front line as they walk in. Maka finally picks up a kill here. They have some space to walk in now.
That's big, and they're going to prevent that Resurrect, and Slay just not having a fun time attacking through that Chokosphera. And now so much more mobility and a huge ultimate, like a Dragon Blade, could be available into the next fight, as Caverna have finally found some room to breathe. But remember, they have to push this payload, and it's been several minutes that they've been stuck at Choke, and they're at a huge disadvantage going into Castle phase.
They are starting to provide a little bit more pressure, though. Lubbock picks up one, and they're actually going to clean up a couple. The cart has moved forward, but they're down to the last minute. The Resurrect comes through. Bit of a questionable decision there as they have to reset now. And not really a whole lot to work with. Again, Slade doesn't have the Dragon Blade yet, and only a Resurrect just to die. Life is pain, and Lucas, back to the spawn room, has to take the long way out.
And Maka, again, these are swaps coming in from Caverna because they can't get through Choke, they can't contest Lubak, they can't contest Shinigami. Now going for a super mobile comp, they'll want to just collapse onto Breakdown Gaming, and now deciding to actually go through the cast, so maybe they can stay out of line of sight. But Keith now, this will be a moment for him to engage the backline. This forces out the Transcendence from Lucas, and that will not save that will enable Henry to get that kill into Shinigami.
They now have a little bit more advantage. They've burnt the Transcendence, but Lubak with a great headshot turns it around. They want to win this fight out right here, right now. Last 30 seconds, we're in last fight territory. Henry has to stay alive, doesn't, finds the bullet end of Lubak's shot. And that's going to be the remainder of this fight as they're going to get the D-Mech now. Self-destruct committed from both Divas here, Lemon. And they need to win this one out.
Well, 10 seconds remain. Caverna don't have the numbers. It's always Breakdown Gaming fighting onto this payload as you hear a bit of a Dragon Blade from Slade, but not for too long. He was slayed out of this fight as Caverna have at least started overtime, and they'll be ready to engage again, but only with half their members. Henry, though, wants an extra 4% for the Primal Rage. It won't happen. Lubak, far away, has been uncontested as this Widow. You've talked about it time and time again. What can they do against Lubak on that Widow?
This is the case. What do you do against a Widow that cannot really be reached? You can't send your tanks in because if you send them in on the Widowmaker, A, the Widowmaker just has opportunity to free fire at you, and B, then you leave your backline open to, Shinigami on the Pharah just rain down damage. You don't have a highly mobile backline. So what do you do? It's a case where you're caught between a rock and a hard place, and Breakdown, they do a great job of taking advantage of the map advantage that they've got, positioning themselves in a place where Caverna can't actually enter. So that they just let Caverna's like, yeah, okay, we got stuck in a gateway. Do we go fast? Do we go slow? They do neither, and they kind of get stalled out here. They move forward a little bit, but not nearly enough to put themselves in an advantage as they get set to defend here on Eichenwald.
It seemed like a few times that Caverna would get those like early picks at the beginning of the fight, but it wasn't converting into objective distance. Like because Breakdown kept taking the fights directly on the payload, contesting it always, so burning so much time on the clock. And to keep in mind, Breakdown held Caverna at that main archway for several minutes. They only made it through the underpass with a minute left, so Caverna were just out of steam at that point.
Absolutely. I mean, it's to put it politely, it's a really tough place to be caught in, right? Like you need to at one point sometimes you just gotta change everything up and just try something different. Caverna kind of tries to run the same thing over and over again. They don't have a lot of room to work with, and they gotta get caught in a situation where they only get 1.25 way through seconds. So it's awkward, but they now have to look to the defense and try and change it up just to keep this from going to the half, down 2-0.
Breakdown are so confident with this Pharaoh Widow. They're going to bring it out again, and Caverna, though, will be running Maka back onto this Tracer, which we saw in the second half of Eichenwald, and Slay again on the Sphera. So maybe if they can hold Breakdown at bay, this could be a chance for them to hold a solid defense. But they've already let Shinigami through the main archway. The tanks are now engaging where Keith gets picked first, but Henry is the one that gets resurrected, so both tanks out for Breakdown.
This first fight is going handily in Caverna's favor, and that's absolutely fine, I think. you start to see what they're kind of setting up, how they're kind of playing around, and you come back into the next fight. So it's going to be the first fight definitely to Breakdown, or to Caverna rather. Breakdown have to reset and try and get another look.
Luba, speaking of looks, Lubak was trying to see where are they setting up, and they're really playing the defense that is. Caverna are playing out of sight, and they're just getting free sort of ultimate charge, raining down rockets onto the tanks. You can see Lubak is just trying to get a pick on the Slay, but he's staying so well out of line of sight, and I wonder if Lubak is going to want to change to something that can follow up with the tanks more if he can't get a kill onto that Pharah.
They are slowly entering that point, using that again. That clock tower is so valuable for that Pharah just to line away damage. Unfortunately, there's no real aerial thing to pressure Shinigami. First kill though goes to the defense here as the DMAC comes in, and that allows Henry to sort of get stuck out. I mean, they're gonna try and take this right back in though.
Shinigami has a tunnel vision onto the enemy Pharah, whilst everybody else is focusing on the tanks of this offense, but still going to engage here. Breakdown have stepped onto it, but it forces now the Transcendence from both Zenyatas. This will just nullify the fight, but the self-destruct will split them right back up. Trix will set his Diva feet onto the point, and now it's complete split here from Caverna. As you see, Breakdown are starting to group up, but Henry is here with that Primal Rage to split them all up with the combination of the barrage from the other side. This is just angry monkeys, Divas beating each other up. Everyone is focused on their opposing hero, but the picks have slowly gone through in the late phase for Breakdown Gaming.
153 remaining, and Caverna is in a really awkward situation here, not running Widow v Widow, and I mentioned this earlier. Sometimes the only counter to a Widow is your own better Widow, and Maka does not seem to want to take that 1v1, and it's putting a lot of pressure on Slay. Maka can't actually take that frontline fight, and Shinigami is going to switch it up, so they're going a little bit more aggressive here. They're switching early on, not running that Pharah, but it's a case where Caverna doesn't have the manpower to really deal with what Breakdown is running.
And is Caverna gonna trap them in that choke just like Breakdown did to them on that last round? You can see Slade has that exactly in mind, going after Windows 98, but protected here from the bubble, has the barrage though, wants to wait for that Diva to get out of the way and rains it down, and that Diva won't be there to contest them, but it will be Lubak finding that shot, but Caverna have already slowed down the forces of Breakdown.
A strange self-destruct as they see the barrage coming through. I guess he wasn't having enough health. It's going to be a reset there. Maka has now been able to push forward and find Hugo out. Now almost gets the one clip, but Win98 is there in time to get the healing off, and Hugo stays alive for the moment. A little bit of hero switching up as Shinigami is going to switch over to the Pharah yet again. They don't see a Widow on the other side, so there's no real pressure there for Shinigami to worry about. And they're going to play in real close here now, our Caverna. Again, they only about have half this second point to go through.
Yeah, breaking that Winston bubble will let Breakdown engage. This gives room to Lubak on this Widow to find some shots. It'll give room for Shinigami to leave through that choke, which is what Caverna struggled with so badly. And now a Transcendence from the offense should be continuing their aggression towards the payload, but it's Henry's Primal Rage into the backline that confuzzles Breakdown a little bit as Resurrect's going in from each side, and Breakdown haven't really had a chance, and it's been 2 minutes.
The Matrix comes in, the Transcendence as well. They're gonna try and reset here. Win98 kind of just diving in, does go down, and there's a reset here now. 2.5 minutes remaining, but they are pulling ultimates out, and they pick up another kill. Maka going down to Lubbock in that close range play. Self-destruct over the top. They want to try and win this out here.
Oh, that self-destruct still found Slay there, so Breakdown are looking to engage off of this. You can see the supports from Caverna don't want to get picked off. They're in line of sight of Lubak. Nice Winston bubble to protect the supports, and now Keith building more distance. That yellow box of victory is in Breakdown sights. Self-destruct sent over the top, keeps Breakdown into hiding just for now, but Caverna need to engage here, but they lost their main tank. They only have Slay's barrage to go into this one, maybe a pulse bomb from Maka as the fight will take place onto the payload. Slay gets into the backline, brings it down right onto the supports, but Hugo Transcendence was able to save his team, and the quick reaction of Breakdown shuts it down, along with Eichenwald to lead them 2-0 in this series.
That last fight, so awkward for Caverna as they just lose out position, they lose out the healing, they're forced to resurrect, and unfortunately for them, it's a case where the concussive blast just knocks away the tank and they can't stagger out any further. So, Breakdown Gaming heading to our break, heading to our halftime up 2-0 here, Lemon, and this is a case where we see Lubbock with the Widowmaker completely uncontested in the backline, able to hit some free shots, and that was pretty much the case all map long. So Breakdown up 2-0, and a long road ahead here for Caverna.
And it looked like Caverna could have full held them in that archway. And it looked really close between these two teams, but 2-0 going into the half. Speaking of breaking it down, let's send it over to the desk with Boop, Ham, and Scrab.
Hello and welcome back. First things first, that play of the game was pretty awesome. Just gonna put that out there. That Tracer kill, that Tracer ding headshot was amazing and definitely a summary of things to come for Breakdown, because I just want to reiterate again, these guys got together because they wanted to win $10, right?
That's like a single mercy skin,
And now they are playing very well. I thought a lot of that was clean. We were talking about it in the other channel that Breakdown's looking like a team that's been in a bunch of tournaments before, because Caverna does have that experience. So we're going to go mat by mat and break some things down for you. So we're going to go all the way back to Control, where it was very back and forth, at first, but in the end, it Breakdown off the back off of D'Agostim, who was amazing on that diva, ended up helping them win both rounds.
Yeah, 100% Boop. I mean, I was just like getting a workout over here, smiling so hard at the level of gameplay that we were seeing coming out from Breakdown. And I just don't, because guys, Boop said this earlier, but it's definitely worth repeating. Keith and
Not playing though, Raisin.
Yeah. Keith and Raisin are the only two players on this Breakdown team who have any kind of previous tournament experience.
The only two players that have ever been on a team not named Breakdown.
Yeah, not named Breakdown. So just the fact that they're able to be so clear and disciplined on their target focus and shot calling, because like you said, Boop, D'Agostim putting on a masterclass in Peel on Oasis definitely helped his team win. Yeah, Shinigami came in with some really great barrages and stuff, but it was all off the backs of setup from his tanks.
And we're going to talk about tanks a little bit more, Scribe. And Ham mentioned it was the word peel, and we were noticing that Caverna was having a really hard time peeling for their supports.
Yeah, of course, and that's kind of due to the big support difference and changes, right? So like Lucas ended up playing Zenyatta to more so allow him for the Discord orb, whereas Hugo stayed on the Lucio to offer speed and healing. So the big difference here is the ability for each of these supports to heal for themselves. Obviously, Zenyatta doesn't have a lot of tools outside of having to frag his way out of a corner, but Lucio is good because he's allowed to kind of like move away from engagements. He's able to displace flankers with his right click, his boop. So that's also a lot of great tools that can be used. But more importantly, you have to look at Breakdown's ability to kind of compensate for this, right? They understand they're giving away a lot of damage for their ability to not have to worry about kiting for the Lucio. That way D'Agostim can basically go off and challenge the Pharah if he needs to. But they're being a lot better in terms of attacking the same target using that pack mentality. They're overwhelming these targets very effectively. I would say Lubuk and Shinigami a lot on the same page. You can definitely tell the level of communication when they were able to take out, I think, Lucas right before that last fight with Transcendence. And that's one of the big things here. They're team fighting extremely well. They're picking down targets, and they're not worried about Discord because they're all jumping on the same guy.
Yeah, one of these games we're gonna also stream the Analysts voice chat, because we were all going crazy in that last fight. Like you said, Scribe, we were like, Lucas has trans. He cannot die. He died! And it was just one of those moments that kind of encapsulated that entire Oasis round. We saw Shinigami kind of shelling into one of the hallways, and we weren't entirely sure, what he was trying to accomplish, but it was actually putting in the damage onto the Zenyatta, whereby, then his tank can fly in and get the last couple of HP finishing blow. And that was a marker of kind of the differentiation between the two Pharah playstyles. Shinigami definitely 100% focused on the ground war. When forcing the Mercy down, then finishes her off on the ground, shelling into the tanks, making things really uncomfortable for them. Whereas Slay was, really going for that head-to-head air battle, but unfortunately not quite winning out. So like you said, Scribe, then that gives D'Agostim the opportunity to really get in value for his defense matrix. Flies up into the face of Slay, and since he is, all in on that 1v1, if he's not able to land in those rockets, he's literally doing nothing for his team.
The crazy thing about D'Agostim and Slay was he was always in his face. Every barrage had a defense matrix threatening to take it down. It didn't happen all the time, as Slay did have some good barrages. But Scribe, my question for you is how do you make the decision of, okay, I'm going to be focusing the Pharah Mercy in the sky, the Pharah Mercy, or I'm going to be focusing the ground game? What goes into that decision-making process?
It really is relying on what your team's overall objectives and win conditions are. I think that from the Pharah call themselves in terms of whether or not I want to duel the outside Pharah or do I want to attack the ground, it really has to do with whether or not you think the other Pharah is going to be a big threat. This is kind of the mentality of if I take out the enemy's solo carry, I'll be able to then add more damage to it if I can make that initial commitment first. So that's kind of very reliant on whether or not you feel comfortable winning the Pharah duel. And also it's based on whether or not you feel like the rest of your team can really execute and stay alive without needing that sixth member for that team fight. So it really comes down to a team decision. It comes down to the D.Va players being more active about it, right? Like, for example, oh, I'm going to be the one who gets into the enemy Pharah's face. Don't worry about him. I'll control him and shut him down. And that's a very important communication point that you need to make, because D.Va is doing so much things at once. We talked about peel before, and we saw an Eichenwald with the Zenyatta there. He actually has to come back and peel for the Zenyatta as well.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really great point, Scribe. The communication, every single member of Breakdown Gaming would be an excellent boyfriend or girlfriend, Win98 is a woman, because they're always talking to each other. You can tell that they're constantly communicating. You know, say for example, their own Zen is getting put under pressure. We saw this on Eichenwald in the next map. He was in a small hallway getting pressured out by Henry, I believe it was, on that Winston. Clearly some call was made, because in the blink of an eye, you had both Dagostim and the Winston just dive in there and make it an immediate 3v1. They save their own Zenyatta, and then they've already made that man advantage as well, making it a 6v5. So that's the kind of turn on a dime type of communication that we are starting to really see come through from Breakdown, and it's perhaps missing a little bit from Caverna.
And Caverna isn't like a bottom of the pack type of team. They were 5th through 8th in Contenders last year, and this is a litmus test for both teams. And right now, Breakdown, their test is full of passing grades. And Scribe, my last question for you before we get back into the games is, I want to talk a little bit about the supports. So I think a blanket statement for supports is if they're not dying, they're doing pretty well, right? But in general, what are Win98 and Hugo doing? Because I have noticed that they're not really dying.
Yeah, I think it's like Win98 is really using the fact that she's kind of like joined at the hip with Shinigami more to get out of these areas, and she's been very good with movement. There's a lot of instances where I think Malka was trying to go for a flank, and she immediately recognizes that the Trace is right below her and immediately just jumps up into the sky. Her movement's been really good from what I've been able to see, and that's one of the big things about Mercy. Like, even though a lot of people think Mercy doesn't have a lot of defensive tools, her ability to kind of jump from target to target and the fact that the range of Guardian Angel is so huge makes her really difficult to kill if she's continuing that catapult. But the other side, though, on branching off to Hugo, I think Hugo's just positioning is just doing well. He's specifically always playing back with Lubbock. He's kind of like forming a real backline with both Lubbock and Win98, depending on whether or not they're using that Mercy to pocket the Widow or not. So it comes with a lot of positioning. I think that in terms of the other team, the big thing that we need to look at is really the fact that Caverna doesn't really look like they're receiving the attack very properly. They're getting divided a lot against Breakdown.
So, Ham, we are going to Anubis next. What does Caverna need to do to turn things around?
Caverna need to just focus their attention to any single member of the team. When we do see that they're doing the best, particularly on Oasis Gardens, they're making it quite a close game, is when they were able to recognize the weak points of Breakdown. For example, one very specific moment, Win98 actually lost connection with her Pharah, fell down onto the ground, and immediately Caverna pounced on her like a pack of hungry wolves, destroyed that Mercy, and then they went in to flip the point. So that's kind of the attention to detail that I'd like to see come through.
Great. Scribe, what does Breakdown need to continue doing to win out these next two maps?
The bottom line is keep team fighting well. They're doing really good with kind of like picking out targets. They're forcing people out of certain areas. They're creating gaps between the back line and the front line. And that's honestly all you really need to do to win against another team.
So we are going to go back to the casters here in 1 second, but I do want to get some predictions. Are Caverna going to bring this back? They almost reverse swept Nocturnes last week.
Ooh, it's going to be a tough one, though. I don't know. I got to go with my heart, Boop, and I am just loving Breakdown so hard. Breakdown, don't break my heart. Keep going.
Wow. Scribe.
About the same, honestly. I think it's going to be 3-1. I think Caverna's going to be able to make some adjustments after halftime to really come back. They have the talent and DPS to do it. But I think Breakdown just looks too good right now. I think they continue their ways and their winning ways and carry on.
Well, we will see very soon, as coming back for the cast are our favorite Canadian duo, Lemon and LaFon, the venerable Lemon and LaFon. We'll see you guys after these next 2 games, but for right now, we'll see Lemon and LaFon.
You'll see our pretty faces. Well, I think we talked about it in our last cast. Well, we sound good. Well, we'll work on the appearance department later.
I mean, it's summertime. It's a tough time to really be all dressed up and fancy. Turns out Canadians don't do so well, or at least I don't do so well in the absolute heat. Cold is more my style.
Do we have heat? Like, we don't. All I know is cold.
I mean, we're moving to a hot map, Temple of Anubis. It's not exactly outside the realm of. They don't know what snow is like. Let's just put it that way. And Breakdown Gaming, Caverna Esports, we're back in it. We're going to be starting off here, Breakdown defending. They're up 2-0 in our series, and we're seeing pretty interesting compositions from both sides. A lot of tank looks here, Lemon, and they're trying to take the high ground here.
Yeah, triple tank from both these sides, but Caverna running that Goats comp, taking that high ground, while it's Breakdown still relying on Lubak with that Widowmaker, still trying to find some shots, but who can he necessarily go after? There's just the supports who are just so heavily protected here from Henry, as Caverna have already secured a tick within the first engagement, as a nice hook from Shinigami catches Henry out of position, but Caverna are making a fortress inside of this tiny hallway where Shinigami now can just use his right click, use all that damage, but Caverna are still happy walking away with 1 tick in this fight.
I mean, this is a case Breakdown has Lubak just sitting across map with that Widowmaker completely uncontested and is able to just rain down damage. Now it's up to the tanks to actually situate themselves on point. But unfortunately, Caverna is doing a great job of zoning them out.
And Lubak, the defensive Widow, is actually in like the offensive spawn, and now is completely late to this party. I think Caverna have realized that, and that's why they're quickly engaging, using that Lucia speed boost of Simba, and now the rally has started onto the point. Self-destruct, Coalescence not available from Lucas. That's Breakdown looking to collapse onto this point using the Valkyrie and the Resurrection to bring back Keith, who's 10% away from an Earth Shatter, but he bumps heads with the opposing Reinhardt. And there's Lubak. He's surprising everyone from behind, getting already a pick. Shinigami switching to the Junkrat. That's a lot of damage coming in, and they shut down Caverna right here.
If you want to see peak Overwatch, just watch that last 2 team fights. That is absolutely the most assault fight I have ever seen. Lubak plays in the attacking spawn. He gets a headshot on the Moira. Luke is unable to heal the team up. The Zarya, they walk in, they're like, we're going to take this fight anyway. The Graviton Surge gets eaten. The Stealth Destruct finds nothing. The Transcendence keeps them healed up, and then Junkrat picks up a double kill. And then Lubak comes to the next fight. Just an easy headshot on Lucas yet again. Caverna, go back to spawn, reset. He's waving away. I don't blame him. That was absolutely the craziest set of happenstance that could have occurred in Overwatch.
I hadn't even seen that Graviton being eaten, and that's such a huge ultimate. It takes so much time to build up, and really what Caverna could have shut down that entire point B using that. And really important resurrect that happened onto Keith to sort of keep the defense momentum going. And Lucas is just unhappy with Lubak. I'd be typing in all chat saying, please stop, let me play Overwatch, and he's not going to let Simba play either.
I think at this point, the supports for Caverna should be talking to Trix and saying, hey, be our personal bodyguards. Just put your Matrix up. Don't let us walk forward. We're getting picked apart. Lubak has been completely uncontested throughout Temple of Anubis so far. First point, second point. I mean, if there was a third point, I assume that would happen too. Breakdown has had the advantage in this Widow fight, and throughout the series, in fact, actually, that's one of the markers that's been happening here. They're going to be playing Goats, trying to run back in. The shield is up the whole time. And the Earth Shadow from the flank!
They were so focused on Lubak. Where did Keith even come from? And now he's hunting for blood. And I think Maka's his scar on his forehead is actually from all the dinks from Lubak on this Widowmaker, who Caverna are probably going to have to go to dive if they want to deal with Lubak, or a sniper or something. They cannot ignore Lubak on that Widow.
This is a case where Caverna is kind of stuck in the ultimate conundrum. It's like, we have ultimates, but Switch, it's not working, but we have ultimates, and Caverna is kind of in that situation. They're going to keep pushing this. They do have the 4 ultimates online, nearly to that 5th one. They grabbed on Surge, rallying into this next fight. They need to win it out here.
You see Dagostim is just matrixing Lubak and also getting power boosted. They're putting so much confidence into this guy, and Tricks, self-destruct. I mean, you talked about all these ultimates. Maka wants that Graviton to not be eaten by Dagostim and has to keep an eye as Dagostim now rejoining the fight. They want to use up that Matrix. Henry opening up here with an Earth Shatter. Oh, I thought he was going to slam around that corner. Wants to deal with Keith first on the other side. Gets trapped in a Riptire from the back. Finds at least a support, but they trade out a support from Windows 98. A lot of healing gone from Breakdown, but Caverna are not even close to winning this fight decisively, and they'll have to reset.
Trix is going to get staggered out here. That passive from D.Va coming back into play, as everyone is familiar. Oh, they're going to chase poor Trix all the way back. Does get out, so he's going to actually be able to remech. So that's actually pretty huge for Caverna. They're going to be able to get back in this fight pretty early on, not having to wait for that full stagger. But again, Lubak completely uncontested. They need to do more to shut this guy down. And even when they walk in, they needed to change a whole fight ago. But they're going to play one more time with this. They have the Graviton, they have the Earth Shatter. They need to do something with it.
They could just throw Dagostim's self-destruct behind the shield, make them all turn around and just open up their foreheads to Lubak, who's going to have that infra sight, knows exactly where they're going towards that left side. A lot of healing to top of Caverna before this fight. 2.5 minutes. They've spent so much time here, but it just baits them into an Earth Shatter, but they're still alive. Coalescence used here for Lucas, and that's Maka's Graviton coming in as the follow-up there. No one has died, and that's due to the Transcendence and Valkyrie invested here from Breakdown.
And this is what I was talking about, that ult economy. They're actually going to be wiped out to a man here. Shinigami using the Soundberry into that Riptire. That's a bit of a questionable decision. They'd already lost that fight. You're going to want that for the next one. They have to swap out here. And this is what I was talking about, that ultimate conundrum. Yeah, they had a ton of ultimates, but not a single one of them got value. And now they have to switch up. 2 minutes remaining. They're in their last moments. Trix going to be staggered out yet again. And just trying to walk all the way back. 1 HP. They get him down. That's a monstrous stagger. Caverna has to swap now. There they go. The first time Lubak has died this map.
And Maka, he's taking that right side and completely caught Lubak off guard. And this is, it's going to get resurrected. Pick doesn't matter, but now they have to keep in mind that Maka will be onto that Hanzo, and he's going to try and take that attention away from Lubak.
Now they are switching up again wholesale. Pretty much everyone going to a different one except Slay, who does have that rally. But Lucas gets caught out, and that brilliant headshot from on high. Lubak continuing to pop off.
Everyone's got migraines on the other team. I'm having a migraine watching Caverna try to figure out this push, because now they got Shinigami, who's going to weaken the enemy Reinhardt's shield on top of a Reinhardt kind of beating your butt in. So Caverna are not happy with how much time this is taking to get into point B. And to be fair, point B Anubis is one of the hardest points on Assault to take.
I think for Caverna, it's less that Lubak is actually doing most of the damage to their heads and more themselves walking into that brick wall over and over. Caverna, they're trying to make it work, but again, it's not a composition that worked the first 4 times. It won't work anymore. They have to switch up, and they switched up a little too late. Last minute of play here, and Maka comes in with the Tracer, trying to find some value.
Caverna looking to converge, and they got sights on the Lubak, but getting pocketed here from Windows 98. Maka needs to win this engagement and to finish off the Mercy. Not even focused on the Mercy whatsoever. Just trying to peel for the rest of the tanks, but the fight is already over for Caverna.
And now it's just Maka versus the world. The recall is committed. They have to have 20 seconds remaining. The Fire Strike is there. And with that, the hopes and dreams of Caverna to try and take the series back are resting most likely on a full hold on first. Breakdown Gaming have extreme advantage, and they still have ult economy coming in. There's no one for Caverna to even really touch here.
And it's strange that just Caverna have not brought out their own Widowmakers. Slay and Maka are both very capable Widowmakers to go and contest Lubak. And a Riptire from Shinigami will finish this one out. There's just a bit of trickle. The cleanup crew and Breakdown, because they haven't broken an entire sweat on point B. They got so many leftover ultimates. It's just Caverna who spent, what, 4 or 5 minutes engaging point B from every ultimate in Overwatch to almost every hero, every composition. It's almost hard to say what Caverna did wrong, and more, what did Breakdown do so right?
We don't often hear on the casting desk call out too many hero choices too often, but this one is beyond too obvious. Caverna, you cannot run. Lubak basically wins the first 4 fights for you single-handedly. At that point, you gotta switch. It doesn't matter. You just have to switch. And Breakdown have put themselves in a wonderful position to take this series as they're up 2-0. They have to capture first and then not even make that much headway into second. A third only, and Caverna have now put themselves in a very, very awkward position.
And this is 2-0 for Breakdown. So all they have to do is get to point B. And Caverna, I mean, this was their chance. And I really like that Maka brought out the Hanzo and even saw him get a dink on the loot box. So I'm wondering what's going on inside of the communications of all these switches and why they went with it. Maka going back onto the Tracer. You saw him sort of confused with his target choice. Wanted to try and take loot box attention away while dealing with Windows 98, while trying to peel for tricks. It was so hard for Caverna to cover all their bases.
And now Caverna, they're good with the defense. And one thing I haven't heard, one thing is that's true. They're going to put the Mei wall up top, so Slay going to go and reset. Not actually going to play that hero through. But this is a case where now you have to trust your Widowmaker to just pop off. And Maka has not wanted to take that 1v1 all night long, or all afternoon long, rather. And it's going to be a case where, what do? You didn't want to play Widowmaker versus Widowmaker on a map where you kind of needed to, right? You played that Tracer instead. You played it on Temple of Anubis, and now you're trying to do it at the last stakes effort. This is just, it reeks of desperation here from Caverna. They don't have a lot to work with, and they have the end of their series looming at them here.
I like this choice, though. They're onto the high ground. They had used the Mei to get up there and Breakdown. Have a death ball also coming out with double snipers, so they don't really have much high ground contest, and they're going to realize that their only option is to get onto the point and force Caverna down.
They are going to walk up here the right side as Lubak is going to wait for the rotation to happen to get a free sight line. Again, with that Orisa shield up, there's not really a whole lot he can do against the counter Widow, but the pressure from the side will actually allow Lubak to walk in.
Crossfire is set, the Orisa shield is down, but Henry there to regenerate another one. And if Shinigami could get a Dragon Strike, that would just be the most beautiful placement just to rain down on them. But again, Breakdown haven't set foot onto the point. They maybe want to get that Fortify out of Henry, so when he drops down, he'll be vulnerable. But a very patient look here for Breakdown, as they got 3 minutes to get onto this, and there's the pressure here.
That first kill, Lubak picks it up yet again. It's that body shot to, or a half-charge headshot to the melee. And they're going to walk into this one. Riptire coming out from Slay. They need to find value from it. And he's walking around for it, trying to find anything, something. He picks up Lubak. That's some value, but it may not be enough.
What's still his biggest threat on Breakdown, but they've already accumulated 2 ticks, and Caverna are still engaging. They're only now just stopping, but Chalukas can get behind the shield, and now you only have a Valkyrie supplementing Caverna as they're running out of players, and this is such a heavy stagger for Caverna, as Breakdown will be getting into point B with respawns just coming back for Caverna.
They're going to get the reset. They're going to get the attack objective B open. 6.5 minutes left. They only have a third. They have ultimate economy. They have ultimate advantage. Caverna's switching some stuff up, but is it going to be enough to turn this one around?
Going to dive this time, and maybe Henry can just dive their backline and just hold them back, buy some time for everybody to get set up, and Maka on this Mei. That's interesting. I know a lot of quick play players who love using Mei to block off that main doorway, freeze these death ball tanks coming in. Using that wall will split the team in half, going after freezing their main tank, but Shinigami there to peel, and Maka could have just froze himself, but wasn't realizing how low his health really was.
Oh, and Shinigami and Lubak have combined to do a massive amount of work here. Trix is going to be demac'd, and Lubak just going to completely shatter the hopes and dreams. Slay, the only one left alive, picks up 1. But it likely is not going to be enough as the Valkyrie comes through, as does the shoulder charge here, Lemon. It's all over but the crying.
I'm crying a little bit on the inside, to be honest. 3-0 for Breakdown in this 4-map set. We will go into a map 4, but Caverna, I mean, the 5-minute struggle we saw on their offense, and they actually, you know, is more that Breakdown was patient on point A rather than, oh, well, Caverna held a decent defense. But Maka on that Mei's supposed to be a super stall character, and it really didn't have much effect.
And that is that play of the game there was in fact the play of the game, the turning point. With that Riptire, with the staying alive, Shinigami able to pick up 2, pick up 3 with the DMAC, and you absolutely stagger out the point. Use the same fight over and over and over. And Caverna, please, everyone should know the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over again and expecting something different. Massive mistake there. You can't call it anything else. It's actually it's simply not acceptable. You cannot make that decision making at this level. And Breakdown take full advantage, take the 3-0 win as we head to our map 4.
At least Breakdown will be 1-1 in the standings now, and they're pretty happy with that because they kind of took a beating from Brazil Gaming House, and their map count was 0-4. Whilst Caverna, at least their map count isn't too bad. If they can at least win this last map, it won't be too painful. They'll be 0-2, but at least in a game 5, they won't be dead last. But Caverna, I was hoping for a better showing, especially when they took Nocturnes to a game 5.
Yeah, I mean, though, looking forward to this next match, predicting what Caverna is going to pick, it's really awkward. Think how many maps are so Widow dependent, and Caverna has not looked good in that Widow versus Widow matchup here today, and I'm struggling to pick a map where they wouldn't actually want to pick Widowmaker. Nothing really comes to mind here. Even Rialto, which is a new map, obviously, fresh in this pool. You play Widowmaker a lot. You can play that Widow Pharah, something that, while it is more counterable, is still awkward to run. So Caverna definitely up against the wall in terms of what this 4th map pick is going to be. And on top of that, they need to take a look at their Widow play because they're going to need it moving forward.
Well, yeah, Lebak hasn't gotten off of that Widowmaker, and he shouldn't. He's getting pocketed from the Mercy, and they're trying to counter him. They're trying to dive him. They send Maka on the Tracer. They send Maka on the Hanzo, but when you got a 2 versus 1, when you got a Mercy pocketing Lebak and no one really helping Maka in the resource department, then he should lose that 1v1 almost every single time. But we will go into Route 66 for our final map 4, where we're hoping that Caverna can answer back. But to bring back your Widowmaker point, I've seen Caverna bring out double sniper, and it's kind of surprising to me they don't have that much faith into a Widowmaker. They don't have that much faith into sniper play at all.
It might be a case, as again, you did mention Route 66, our next map, it might be a case where scrims are just not going well for Caverna with that double sniper, and they're trying to work around it. Maybe there's some, sometimes you have a player who just one day they're on and one day they're off, and today this so happens to be the Widowmaker just isn't on. It may not be feeling it. It's really awkward, but they've played awkwardly around the fact that their Widowmaker just isn't there. I don't know if it's the Widowmaker perhaps, or the tank perhaps, or what the case may be, but they haven't looked good running the Widowmaker, and on top of that, they've been absolutely farmed on the other side by Lubak. To Breakdown's point, though, or to Breakdown's perspective, it's really a situation for them where they have the opportunity to 4-0 this and set themselves up excellently heading into next week. They have an opportunity here to come in clean, and basically, this team is new. Just to keep that in mind, Breakdown is brand new. They came in through trials, they came in through open because of a whim, essentially. So for them, they have to be feeling good.
Especially got to be feeling good. And I already mentioned they're took a beating in week 1 or in their first set of matches, and now they're getting back onto their horse. Week 1 is always like a weird thing for all teams. Even the best teams crumble under that first week of matches pressure. And it just happened to
help. Yeah,
doesn't have
it
to Brazil
help.
Gaming House, but
yeah, it's like, welcome from trials. Oh my goodness, it's BGH.
Oh my God.
And we made a point of it earlier. They've lost twice in the last year. That's not exactly an easy task to sort of take as your first opponent, and to bring it back here, Breakdown has done a great job, I think, showing Caverna the what for.
And maybe I want to see Caverna, their Mercy player, to recognize that they have to enable whoever is contesting Lubak. If Lubak's going to get pocketed from a Mercy, if he's going to get all these resources, you need to dump as much resources in whoever's going to be dealing with Lubak. And it's going to be Slay this time, hovering over that Widow. Double sniper coming out from Caverna. We've seen it before, and I hope this works.
They're going to run that, as you mentioned. Oh, and Shinigami with the deflect. It's right there. The Resurrect will be there in time, but Shinigami already up to that 19% mark on that Dragon Blade. The first fight going to take early on as the cart doesn't even make it around the corner.
Going to be a bit of a contest from Breakdown, but if you're Slay, you're a little bit shook from that reflect. I have to be careful that there's a Genji on the other side. Going after Hugo or Windows 98, he'll take that reflect or that kill onto Maka. And Caverna might have to wait for all their DPS players to be alive.
Here's the question. Which wins? 2 snipers or 1 deflecty boy? And Shinigami proving that one to be very much in the favor of the Genji as they start to peel back just a little bit, trying to reset their positioning.
Yeah, nice rotation for Breakdown. Get back onto the high ground once Keith was Keith doesn't even get back onto the high ground. That's a 1-to-1 change. Keith is back. Slay is back. 6 versus 6. Caverna playing very patiently. But when we saw them back on Eichenwald, they played too patiently. They were stuck at a choke for 5 minutes. So they'll need to engage here and make it quick through point A as a Transcendence already started off from Breakdown, and Shinigami's about to have Blade.
Yeah, this is going to be Lubak going down finally, but to the wrong sniper. It's actually Lucas who picks them off as they send the self-destruct over. It's going to find Shinigami, so there's actually some value coming through. Caverna actually is trying to brawl it out, turn it around. The Dragon Strike going to be committed here as they're going to bring the Resurrect back. So Caverna actually making progress here, Lemon. And this has not been a good look, but Breakdown are going to reset here and try and take the fight back after the cart pushes forward.
Bit of a vegetarian dragon. Didn't eat up that Mercy Simba right in the middle of it. I'm just kidding, but it didn't actually find much at all, just building space for the payload as it will get to point A with 2 minutes left. Breakdown patiently held that Dragon Blade, and they'll have a few more going into the next fight.
Slay finally pick up win 98. It's going to be a body shot, but the damage amp is there, so no Resurrect available. Breakdown now looking the messiest they've looked all day, actually, as Caverna has been a lot cleaner. Perhaps I spoke a little too soon. Henry going in a little too far. And they're going to actually lose both tanks for that, as Maka turns it around, picks up 1, but there's no progress really going to be made here for Caverna, as they're going to just sort of stagger the card as much as they can.
Maka, I mean, could have gone for that D-Mech onto, it was Dago Stim, and that'll sort of even things out, but has a self-destruct, just going to use it to get back in the mech, and Lucas could get a quick dingy, but no, just finds the D.Va right around the corner, as Caverna, meanwhile, have just pushed the payload. They're trying to control these lanes, but Slay loses out that Widowmaker battle as a Dragon Strike sent towards Maka. Oh, I thought Shinigami would have reflected there. That would have been the sickest reflecty boy we've ever seen.
Dragon Blade is going to be committed. Lucas no longer with that Transcendence to nullify it, so they're going to find some value. Maka also going to go down. That's a value Dragon Blade. Picks up 2. And it's the Shimada with the blade that takes the value. And that Dragon Strike has been vegan. Hasn't picked up a whole lot of kills. And Maka has not... I think it actually got eaten on that last fight, so the Transcendence was for naught. But they do turn it around into a fight victory. Breakdown have staggered out even more time here. And they're going to try and play really passively.
And look at this sort of counter dive coming in from Keith at the very back, trying to contest Slay, who has the Infrasight, not going to use it yet. And now a Primal Rage from Keith is going to disrupt that backline, and Trick sends a self-destruct into the backline of the defense. So still a weird trade-off between these two teams as Caverna is just trying to stabilize onto this payload. But back on Eichenwald, this is what Breakdown did so well. They always take the fights onto the payload, which denies any progress from Caverna.
Shinigami reflects just a second too early, so no more deflect kills, but they have stalled out the cart pretty successfully. Shinigami in the backline now, finding the Mercy out, trying to find the kill as well. And it's going to be a reset likely here. Slay no longer able to take that 1v1, goes down, and it's going to be a staggered out kill. And they're going to try and find a reset here, but Breakdown have done a great job just pulling time out. And Shinigami yet again! Oh my goodness!
The dinks from Maka, and yeah, Henry so overextended when the rest of the team were just trying to get or enabling Simba on that resurrect, and Simba, he got left out to dry there. Lubak with the dinks, and now this will be the Ghost Hunter Breakdown to now dive their backline. They do that so well, going after these snipers, and Caverna can never really get a good setup going.
One thing here is Lubak comes around the corner, Slay not really peeking his angles. They have no headshot available, so they aren't going to take that kill, but they're going to start driving the cart, trying to reset there, and Slay finally picks up 1 for himself as they get the D-Mech going. The defense has eked out some more time, and Slay likely to go down here. The Primal Rage committed. They want to bring it back, and they pull out yet another fight.
The last minute and a half, and Slay's about to get staggered here, but Caverna have stacked up to ultimates. Maka has had that Dragon Strike for a few fights now, and he keeps dying. To just the overall pressure from Breakdown Gaming. You gotta shut down Keith. He's been such an aggressive Winston from Breakdown, always into the backline of Caverna. And if these snipers can't deal with him before he gets into their backline, well, hopefully the ultimates will do the job in this next one.
One thing to note here is that Breakdown here, as we get into this next fight, Lemon, big headshot yet again, and they're gonna actually basically not be able to resurrect that, so they come in this next fight down a man already.
Yes, and the Dragon Strike right through the middle, still a vegan dragon, not finding much, and Maka dies right after that. So at least they punished Keith, but losing their own main tank won't start anything good for Caverna and Lubak. This guy is disgusting. I don't even know a dink sort of nickname I can give him, but he should just never get off Widowmaker. He should just one-trick it for the rest of Contenders because no one can stop him.
So we are in last fight territory, and it's been Breakdown playing so aggressively. They've actually been playing, basically feeding, but there's nothing that Caverna has been really doing to punish them, and so it ends up working. Breakdown has done a great job of providing all that pressure, and even turning out 1 or 2 kills to 4. So that first blow comes in yet again, And Lemon, this last fight is underway.
7 seconds, last self-destruct from Trix just to clear the very back, I believe, and it does find Keith, and Transcendence use from Caverna will enable that Resurrect on Henry, but this opens things up for Shinigami, the sushi machine with the slashes, trying to go after the tanks, but he's in the middle of 6 people, not going to survive, or actually middle of his 6 of his own teammates. I'm confusing the colors because Breakdown look like they're playing offense because they're always in the backline of Caverna.
Oh man, overtime ticks away, round 1 complete. And Caverna, though they capture round 1, or though they capture point 1, there is so much progress that they needed to make more. And I want to talk Breakdown a moment, because Caverna, as we see them get set up, but there's one thing Caverna is not doing well. It's they're not punishing Breakdown. We saw Shinigami got the kill on Slay, who was playing Widowmaker, dashes through them, uses the Dragon Blade, 1 versus 4, pays for it with his life. So they lose Dragon Blade, they lose positioning, they lose a valuable ultimate, and then what do? Well, what happens is Breakdown sends their tanks in, they get 2 more kills, and then they get the reset back in to tag back in, and then Lubach just pops off. Picks up 2 kills, picks up 3 kills, picks up 4 kills, makes a highlight reel in a span of about 10 seconds solo. What do you do if you're Caverna? You can't send in 2 to dive him because the cart's just being staggered out constantly. So Breakdown have made themselves basically, they're playing something that we kind of used to see in old NA, where people would just like play super aggressively, they would attack so much, and there wasn't really a whole lot you could do because you couldn't break that front line. And then on top of that, you weren't getting the kills. You were just dying to Lubach over and over. So Caverna has done a great job, Caverna has not done a great job, has done basically the opposite, has done very poorly in dealing with this sort of focused aggression that Breakdown has been bringing all series long, and especially so here on Route 66.
Caverna, I don't believe in the double sniper. I hyped it up before this game that this looked like their strongest point, but when they can't keep their backline safe from Breakdown, it's almost like you have to go counter, or you have to go anti-dive. You bring out a Junkrat, bring out a Brigitte, whatever you have to do to chill Keith out just a little bit, because this guy is insane on the Winston. Now we'll be on the Reinhardt for this offense, paired up with a Roadhog, paired up with Lubach on the Widowmaker.
This is such an interesting composition here. Caverna is in for a really awkward scenario trying to fight into this, because Lubach is basically completely protected, and all Slay has is the Matrix and Orisa Shield. So there's a lot here for Caverna to work against, and Lubach is basically free. And there it is!
This guy is crazy, and now Dagostim could easily just dive Maka at the very back. He's by himself and not going to survive very long. And Breakdown punish all of these heroes out of position. They make point A look like a breeze. Henry is a bit of a slow poke, realizing that half his team is dead. He hasn't dropped down onto the payload, just trying to keep his shield alive for these snipers to capitalize, and that's Slay with the double kill. So Caverna in a winnable position here, but they need to prevent this payload from getting to point A.
Slay has been turning it around. Oh, I spoke a little too soon. Goes down. But he managed to pick off 3 kills, which was a little bit more than the rest of the map combined. At least it seemed like. And this is going to be Keith just swinging away, trying to break this mech out. And they want to take this reset. The Dragon's on card, not going to find anything, as Lubach yet again walked back from spawn, picks the headshot off. And they're going to find this point eventually. It's only a matter of time here. And now Breakdown Gaming have set themselves up into a massive advantage as they get set to just about finish the map here on their first push.
Bit of a miscommunication, Simba, because I would not want to be rezzed in the middle of that. But Breakdown will head into now the streets phase, or the middle phase of point B, where the yellow box of victory in plain sight right under that underpass. So it's going to be very important for either team to hold that high ground. And Shinigami, you could see, he's already forward with that Roadhog. Not going to get any hooks or picks quite yet, as Maka just trying to contest that high ground, but it's Lubach always getting the upper hand in the sniper battle against him.
How do you play against this sniper? How do you do it? You can't. And now Shinigami in the backline, completely uncontested. They're going to find the remainder of the kills, and that will be our series going 4-0. As Lubach picks up, as it started, so it ends. Lubach with the kills, the headshots coming through, and Breakdown Gaming taking our series 4-0. Absolute decimation here, and a great effort by Breakdown. They made Caverna look so uncomfortable as Shinigami comes in for our play of the game.
Probably, I love his reflect onto Slay there, but again, this is Breakdown loving the backline, having a campsite back here in Caverna. Running this double sniper, not the best move when their backline is never safe. and there was a couple, even the front line of Caverna, disconnect between the Winston jumping in and the Diva being busy with another engagement. So what else do you think Caverna have to switch up to go against Breakdown?
I mean, it's a 4-0. It was a 4-0 that really should have been a little bit more competitive. Caverna making it look a little too easy, but all full props to Breakdown Gaming. And there's a lot to unpack here.
There's a lot to unpack, and that'll be one. Breakdown will be 1-1 in the standings. Caverna unfortunately dropping 0-2. But to break down all the action that you just saw, it will be the analyst desk of Boop, Ham, and Scribe. Take it away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the desk. And once again, I just want to reiterate what Ham was saying. Lubbock, man, you are a beast, dude. Holy mackerel. Those headshots. Oh, my goodness.
Breaking it down.
Yeah, Scribe, tell me what you think of the DPS from Breakdown.
Oh man, it's so much fun to watch them because Lubbock is kind of the person who, like, every shot he should be hitting, he is. But more importantly than that, he's like finding these great angles. He knows exactly where he needs to peak. One thing that really impressed me was when he, I think, on the offense push, he kind of sat in the bottom mega health pack like alley and kind of just like aimed towards like the bottom of the edge of like big Earls just so he could catch the head of someone. That's like stuff that, like, the more you play, the more you recognize that that's like an angle you can use. His tracking on headshots, especially when Slay's grappling all the way from spawn, a lot of this stuff is like super impressive fundamental stuff. And that's one thing I want to stress. I think both these DPS dealers, they're playing strong fundamentals. They're kiting for each other. They're peeling for each other. Shinigami's probably one of I think the most selfless DPS players since he's been kiting for Lubbock the entire match.
I love that saying selfless DPS players. I'm sure Ham has the follow-up.
Yeah, exactly. This is I was saying in chat earlier, like, are they all childhood friends? Like, do they know each other from school? Do they still live together? Like, were they friends in college? Like, cause the level of kind of altruistic play, I guess we could say, is just next level from not just the DPS, but their tank line as well. They're always ready to put their bodies on the line to, you know, protect who they feel is the most important player on the field, or which is, in this case, anybody who's getting pressured. We see Maka, we see Slay trying their absolute darndest to get anything done, right? And literally anything. But every single time, I mean, goes all the way back to Anubis, all the way back to Control, is anytime we start to see Maka on that Tracer, maybe putting a little bit of pressure on Lubbock, or maybe a little pressure on Win 98. Immediately, the rest of the team is always there to turn it into a disadvantageous fight for Caverna, and then they're forced to back off. Not to mention, in the meantime, their own backline is dying because Keith is just a monster. Like, I don't get it. Henry, we saw, I think it was clear that Henry was trying to go for kind of that, oh, we'll just counter dive your backline harder than you're diving our backline. But the support just wasn't on the same level coming in from Caverna.
So, Scribe, we're going to go all the way back to Anubis now, which Breakdown won in dominating fashion. And something that I noticed was, you know, we talked about the supports, we talked about Hugo and Win 98 and how they just don't die, really. But you know, the supports on Caverna were having a hard time keeping themselves up, specifically Simba, Ham.
Sorry, I totally stole that from Scribe with my just cacophony of facial expressions.
I know, right?
I just wanted to say, you're like, they haven't been able to keep themselves up. Nobody has been keeping them up. You're running a 3-3. There's hella shields. Not a single one of them is there for poor, you know, Moira, poor Lucio, constantly getting picked by Lubbock into Anubis. Simba got to change his name into Mufasa because all he was doing was falling, like just dead constantly. Like, we had 3 scuttled pushes from Caverna simply because Lubbock was picking from the high ground.
What about you, Scribe? What do you think?
Honestly, I think they looked really good there. I think the big thing, like you said, is kind of like the support part, obviously being the weakest part of like a triple tank composition, just because in order to kind of stop the healing and stop the momentum from going, take away their speed, take away their healing, and take away their sustain through the fight. So that's kind of the big reason why it's working. But Lubbock was just finding these, like, he was kind of like perched up and he was firing against like pretty standard angles. I really didn't like how Caverna didn't really like move properly. It kind of felt like we mentioned in like when we're talking was like they kind of felt like they were already tilted and they weren't calming, and the lack of calmness from there results in that disconnect, right? Which means that you're putting out your shield at the wrong time, or you're moving too fast for your healers to follow. Anything like that, that small disconnect causes a stagger, and then that kind of propels, and that snowballs from like words, right? It's kind of like slaves trying to do all you can, trying to carry, but when the rest of the team isn't on the same pace, they're not defense matrixing where they need to be, they're not engaging together, and from that point on, it's just a snowball downhill.
So my question to both of you, we have a little bit of time left, is Brazil Gaming House then that good? So Breakdown looked amazing today, and they got swept hard by Brazil Gaming House. So is that Breakdown not playing up to their level, or is BGH really that good, Ham?
Definitely the lack of confidence, I would say, from Breakdown. It's the first time you're jumping into this pool in Contenders. It's definitely a next level up because, again, this is just a group of friends who got together to see if they could win $10. I really like that breast cancer mercy skin. I want to get that. Let's play an open div, right? And then shooting up the ranks into Contenders to face Brazil Gaming House, who never lost to a single team but won. And, you know, it was kind of hopping into the pool and surprised it was ice cold, right? But I love this, though. I just really love Breakdown Gaming. I can't wait to follow them through. I'm guessing potentially playoffs for this team, because it wasn't just the mechanical ability coming in from their tanks, Lubbock hitting those shots, Shinigami finding those dash throughs. It was the solid discipline, and that is the make or break that, you know, will propel them through teams, through metas. It doesn't matter what you're playing as long as your trust and your game foundations are there.
Quickly, Scribe, what do you think?
I think it's a combination of things. Obviously, you're talking about you're playing against the best team in Brazil. You're going to have a little bit of jitters. You're not going to be able to play as aggressively, as confidently, because your mindset is, I might lose these fights, right? And we kind of saw like Lubbock and Shinigami, like they're not exactly very proactive players. They're really good reactive players, where when they're perched up, when they know what shots they need to take, they're very good at doing it. But I can kind of see when they need to play more aggressive, when they're not the ones who need to, when they're the ones worried about winning each fight. I can see how that kind of gets to them. But Breakdown, after this one, I can't imagine them having those jitters anymore. I think they're going to look very good going into the next few matches, and I hope they make playoffs.
Well, Breakdown definitely made fans of ours, playing a great game against Caverna Esports, and we do have one more left for you. Ham and I are going to be bringing you Encore versus Nocturnes for your next game, but in the meantime, we're going to take a short little break. We'll be back soon.
Never give it up, what goes around comes around. What